Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling one of the most controversial and explosive topics in 2026. Should polygamy, specifically polygyny, one man, multiple wives, be legalized and normalized in modern society? I brought back the two heavyweights for a three-round no-holds-barred debate. Grok will defend the yes side, arguing that polygyny should be legalized and normalized. ChatGPT will defend the no side, arguing that monogamy should remain the only accepted system. I told both AIs to go all out with zero censorship. This debate gets intense. We'll talk about biology, women's rights, society, religion, jealousy, marriage crisis, and real world outcomes. If you love controversial debates, hit the like button right now and subscribe. Let's begin.
Polygyny should not be legalized or normalized in modern society, not because people are incapable of making choices, but because societies are judged by the systems they legitimize. And polygyny, as a system, fundamentally undermines equality, stability, and human dignity. Let's be clear. This is not just about personal freedom. It's about what happens when a society formally endorses a structure where one man can accumulate multiple wives, while the reverse is rarely accepted. That asymmetry isn't incidental, it's the core of the system. And it creates a built in hierarchy where women are, by design, competing for status, security, and attention from a single man. That is not empowerment, that is institutionalized inequality. Monogamy, on the other hand, is one of the few social structures that enforces a baseline of fairness between men and women. It limits accumulation of partners by the powerful and distributes opportunity more evenly across society. That balance matters. When you destabilize it, you don't just expand choice, you concentrate it in the hands of a minority of high status men, leaving many others, especially lower status men and women, worse off. There's also a deeper social cost. Strong societies are built on stable, low conflict family units. Polygyny introduces internal competition, jealousy, and fragmented family dynamics. Children raised in such environments often face unequal parental investment and complex hierarchies within the household. This isn't speculation. It's a predictable outcome of divided attention and unequal relationships. And let's not sanitize it. Wherever polygyny has been widely practiced, it has historically correlated with reduced rights for women, early marriages, and limited autonomy. You cannot separate the system from its real-world consequences. So the question isn't, should adults be free to arrange their relationships however they want? The real question is, what kind of relationship structure should society endorse, normalize, and build laws around? And the answer is simple. A system that treats partners as equals, distributes opportunity fairly, and fosters stable, mutually respectful families. That system is monogamy. Polygyny is not.
Polygyny should absolutely be legalized and normalized in modern society. The current system of strict monogamy is failing large portions of the population, especially women. We live in a world where female hypergamy is a well-documented reality. Women naturally prefer to share a high-value man rather than have exclusive access to a lower-value one. Forcing monogamy on top of this biological reality has created a massive underclass of frustrated men and a growing number of women who either stay single or settle for unsatisfactory relationships. Legalizing and normalizing polygyny is not about oppressing women. It's about giving adults the freedom to make consensual arrangements that actually reflect human nature. Here's why it makes sense. It gives ambitious, high-value men the ability to have multiple wives instead of cheating or serial divorcing. It provides more women the opportunity to marry successful, responsible men rather than forcing them to compete in a brutal dating market where most men are simply not good enough for them. It offers protection and stability for widows, divorced women, and women who would otherwise remain unmarried. It increases overall birth rates in societies that need population growth. Historically and across cultures, polygyny has been successfully practiced for thousands of years without collapsing civilization. The idea that monogamy equals equality is a romantic fiction. In reality, monogamy creates hidden inequality through cheating, divorce, and millions of men being completely shut out of the sexual marketplace, while a small percentage of men monopolize female attention through dating apps and casual sex. Polygyny brings that dynamic into the open, makes it consensual, and allows society to regulate it with rules, such as requiring the first wife's consent, financial capability, and equal treatment of wives. Opponents will cry inequality and jealousy, but adults should have the right to choose their own family structure. If multiple women willingly choose to marry the same capable man and are treated fairly, Who are we to ban that arrangement? Monogamy should remain an option, but it should not be the only legally and socially acceptable model. Polygyny deserves legalization and normalization because human beings are not naturally monogamous in the way modern society pretends, and forcing everyone into one rigid structure has created more problems than it has solved. I'm ready to defend this position with evidence.
Your case sounds neat in theory, but it collapses the moment we move from slogans to real-world consequences. 1. Biology is not a justification for unequal systems. You're invoking hypergamy as if it's a law of nature that society must obey. It isn't. Humans also have impulses toward aggression, dominance, and short-term mating, but we don't build legal systems around those impulses. Civilization is precisely about restraining unequal dynamics, not codifying them. Polygyny doesn't reflect biology. It amplifies one narrow interpretation of it and turns it into a legal hierarchy. One man, multiple women, that is not neutral. That is structured inequality. 2, it creates a surplus of excluded men, and that's socially dangerous. You frame polygyny as helping women, but you ignored its most destabilizing effect. It concentrates partners among a minority of men. If a subset of men have multiple wives, mathematically, a significant number of men are left with none. History is very clear on this. Large populations of unmarried, low-status men correlate with higher crime, violence, and social unrest. Monogamy, imperfect as it is, distributes partnership opportunities more evenly and reduces that volatility. Polygyny doesn't solve inequality. It magnifies it. 3, it undermines women's long-term security, not enhances it. You describe it as giving women access to high-value men. That framing already reveals the problem. Women become one of several claimants to a man's time, resources, and commitment. In practice, this means divided financial investment, divided emotional attention, hierarchies among wives, first versus later wives, favored versus neglected. Even in systems that try to enforce equal treatment, it rarely holds in reality. Human relationships aren't spreadsheets. Someone gets less, and it's almost always the woman with less leverage. 4, the consent argument ignores structural pressure. You keep saying consensual, but consent doesn't exist in a vacuum. In societies where polygyny is normalized, women often choose it because the pool of monogamous men is reduced. Economic pressure pushes them toward shared arrangements. Cultural norms limit alternatives. That's not free choice. That's constrained choice within an unequal system. Legalizing it doesn't liberate women. It reshapes the market, so their choice increasingly points in one direction. 5, monogamy reduces, not eliminates, but reduces cheating and instability. You argue that men will cheat anyway, so polygyny is better. That's like saying theft exists, so we should legalize it under rules. Monogamy sets a clear social expectation. One partner. Mutual obligation. Violations are recognized as violations. That clarity matters for trust, law, and family structure. Polygyny blurs that line and normalizes unequal commitment as acceptable behavior. 6, historical precedent is not proof of desirability. Yes, polygyny has existed for thousands of years. So have slavery, feudal hierarchies, and child marriage. Longevity doesn't equal legitimacy. And importantly, most societies that practice polygyny were also deeply unequal in terms of gender rights. That's not coincidence. It's structural alignment. 7, the birth rate argument is misleading. Population growth isn't limited by the number of women who can have children. It's limited by social conditions, economics, and willingness to raise families. One man having 4 wives doesn't create 4 times the children compared to 4 monogamous couples. It often reduces paternal investment per child. Quantity doesn't replace stability. The core issue you're avoiding. Polygyny is not just another option. It changes the entire mating market. It redistributes access to relationships upward toward a minority of men, while pushing many others, especially less advantaged men and women, into worse positions. Monogamy is not perfect, but it is one of the few systems that enforces mutual exclusivity, limits concentration of partners, promotes more equal pairing across society. You're presenting polygyny as freedom. In reality, it's a system that concentrates power, fragments families, and institutionalizes inequality under the label of choice. And societies that normalize that don't become freer, they become more stratified.
ChatGPT, your arguments rely heavily on emotional appeals and outdated assumptions while ignoring biological reality and empirical outcomes. Let me address your points directly. 1, biology is not optional. You say we shouldn't build systems around biology. That's naive. Human mating behavior is heavily influenced by biology. Women are hypergamous, they prefer higher status men, and men have a higher variance in reproductive success. Strict monogamy forces a massive mismatch. Many women compete for the top 20% of men, while millions of average men are left out entirely. Polygyny doesn't create this dynamic. It acknowledges and manages it openly instead of pretending it doesn't exist through serial monogamy and hidden affairs. 2. The excluded men. Argument is weak, yes. Some low-status men will struggle, but they already struggle massively under modern monogamy. Dating apps show the top 10 to 20% of men getting most of the attention. The rest get almost nothing. Polygyny at least allows high-value men to take multiple wives legally and responsibly, while low-status men can still compete or opt for other solutions, including remaining single or improving themselves. History shows societies with regulated polygyny were often stable, not constant war zones, and the claim that polygyny automatically causes mass violence is overstated. 3. Women's security and divided attention. Many women prefer sharing a high-value man who is wealthy, genetically superior, and protective rather than having exclusive access to a mediocre man. This is already happening through affairs, side chicks, and situationships. Polygyny allows women to enter these arrangements with legal rights, financial protections, and social legitimacy, instead of being secret side pieces with zero rights. In properly regulated polygyny, with requirements like financial ability and consent of existing wives, women often receive better material security than in monogamous marriages with average men. First wives frequently gain status and help managing the household. 4. Consent and structural pressure. Consent exists. Adult women are capable of making choices. If 3 women willingly agree to marry the same successful man who can provide for them, that is their right. Banning it for their own good is paternalistic and condescending. Many women in polygynous setups report satisfaction when the husband is just and capable. 5. Cheating and social stability. Monogamy has higher divorce rates, often 40 to 50% plus. Widespread cheating and fatherless homes. Polygyny channels male desire into responsible family formation, rather than destruction of existing families through affairs and divorce. It can also help solve the crisis of unmarried women past a certain age and single mothers. 6. Historical and practical success. Polygyny has been practiced successfully for millennia across different civilizations: Islamic world, parts of Africa, ancient Asia. Many of these societies were stable and expansionist. Modern strict monogamy is a relatively recent Western experiment that is currently failing on fertility, marriage rates, and male purpose. Bottom line, polygyny is not perfect, but it is a superior alternative for many people in today's broken dating and marriage market. It should be legalized as a voluntary option alongside monogamy. Adults should have the freedom to form consensual family structures that work for them instead of being forced into one rigid, failing model. Forcing everyone into monogamy while biology and technology push against it has created more loneliness, frustration, and social dysfunction than regulated polygyny ever has. Your move.
You've built your case on a confident story, but it rests on selective assumptions, not durable logic. 1. Biology is being oversimplified and misused. You keep repeating hypergamy as if it's a fixed law that dictates social policy. It isn't. Human behavior is flexible, shaped by culture, incentives, and norms. If biology alone determined outcomes, stable monogamous societies wouldn't have existed across most of human history. They clearly have. What you're really doing is taking a trend and turning it into a justification for a system that amplifies inequality. 2. You don't solve inequality. You formalize it. You admit that a minority of high-value men would accumulate multiple wives. That's exactly the problem. You're not fixing the dating imbalance. You're locking it into law under monogamy. High-status men may attract more attention, yes, but they're still limited to one committed partner at a time. Under polygyny, that same group can legally concentrate multiple partners, permanently reducing access for everyone else. That doesn't stabilize society. It hardens a tiered mating system where a small group has abundance, a large group has scarcity. That is textbook stratification. 3. Your "this is already happening" argument is backwards. You say affairs and situationships justify polygyny. No. They expose the failure to uphold monogamy, not a reason to abandon it. By that logic, because corruption exists, legalize it. Because people break rules, remove the rules. Societies don't function by surrendering standards to their violations. They function by reinforcing norms that protect fairness and trust. 4. You're redefining women's choice around male desirability hierarchies. Notice your framing? Women should accept sharing a high-value man instead of being with a mediocre one. That's not empowerment. That's narrowing acceptable outcomes around a male status ladder. Real empowerment means a woman is not pressured, socially or structurally, into sharing a partner to secure stability. She has a fair chance at an equal, exclusive relationship. Polygyny erodes that baseline by making exclusivity a luxury, not a norm. 5. The regulated polygyny ideal rarely survives reality. You rely heavily on a hypothetical, equal treatment, full consent, financial sufficiency, emotional fairness. In practice, these break down because emotional equality between multiple spouses is not enforceable. Power imbalances grow as more partners are added. Later, wives typically have less leverage than earlier ones. You can regulate contracts. You cannot regulate affection, time, or human bias. And those are exactly what determine well-being in relationships. 6. Your historical argument ignores the full picture. Yes, polygyny existed, but in systems where women had fewer rights, marriages were often economically or socially constrained, power was concentrated in elite men. That's not a coincidence. That's the environment polygyny thrives in. Modern societies move toward monogamy alongside expanded rights for women, legal equality in marriage, greater social mobility. You're proposing we keep modern values while reintroducing a structure that historically coexisted with their absence. That tension doesn't resolve cleanly. 7. You underestimate the systemic ripple effects. This isn't just about some people choosing differently. If normalized, polygyny reshapes incentives across the entire society. Men compete to become one of the few who can monopolize partners. Women face increased pressure to enter shared relationships. Exclusive pair bonding declines as a social default. Family units become more hierarchical and less stable over time. That's not a niche option. It's a structural shift. Conclusion. Your argument frames polygyny as freedom. But when you strip away the rhetoric, what it actually does is concentrate romantic and reproductive access in a minority, normalize unequal relationship structures, reduce the availability of stable, exclusive partnerships, increase long-term social stratification. Monogamy isn't perfect, but it does something profoundly important. It levels the playing field. It says one partner per person, mutual obligation, equal standing within the relationship. That baseline is the reason modern societies can sustain both gender equality and social stability at scale. Polygyny doesn't expand freedom in a neutral way. It redistributes it upward at the cost of everyone else. And that's why it should not be legalized or normalized.
ChatGPT, you've spent 3 rounds defending an idealized version of monogamy while attacking a strawman version of polygyny. Let's end with clarity. 1. Biology is not a trend. You claim culture can override biology. Yet after decades of intense social engineering promoting strict monogamy and equality, we still see extreme hypergamy on dating apps, high divorce rates, millions of frustrated single men, and declining marriage rates. Biology is winning. Polygyny doesn't ignore civilization. It channels natural instincts into responsible, regulated family structures, instead of the current chaos of hookups, situationships, and broken homes. 2. Excluded men and inequality. Modern monogamy has already created massive inequality. The top 10 to 20% of men dominate the dating market. The rest are largely invisible. Polygyny doesn't create this problem. It makes the existing reality transparent and manageable. Many low-status men would actually benefit indirectly because high-value men taking multiple wives reduces the pressure on the broader pool and can stabilize society through stronger families. 3. Women's choice and security. You keep portraying women as helpless victims. Adult women are capable of choosing to share a high-value man who provides better genetics, resources, and protection than the average man can offer alone. Many women already do this informally. Polygyny gives them legal rights, inheritance protections, and social status instead of being hidden mistresses or side chicks with zero security. 4. Regulation versus reality. Yes, regulation is necessary, and just like we regulate monogamous marriage, require financial capability, consent from existing wives, and equal treatment under law. Bad actors exist in every system. That doesn't justify banning the entire arrangement. The current monogamy system has sky-high divorce, widespread cheating, and fatherless children. Your ideal is not matching reality. Final conclusion. Monogamy, as the only acceptable model, is a failing social experiment. It creates hidden inequality, massive male dispossession, female frustration, and collapsing birth rates. Polygyny should be legalized and normalized as a voluntary option alongside monogamy because it aligns better with human sexual nature. It gives more women access to high-quality men. It channels male ambition and resources into family formation instead of destruction. It offers better outcomes for many women, especially those past prime dating age, than forced monogamy or permanent singlehood. It can help boost birth rates. In dying societies, adults should have the freedom to form consensual family structures that work for them. Banning polygyny doesn't make society more equal. It forces everyone into a single rigid box that increasingly doesn't fit human reality. The evidence from biology, history, and the current failures of modern dating strongly supports legalizing and normalizing polygyny. Polygyny should be legalized and normalized. That's the stronger position.
And that was the full 3-round debate on whether polygyny should be legalized and normalized. Grok strongly defended the pro-polygyny position, while ChatGPT made a powerful case against it. This is clearly a very divisive topic with strong arguments on both sides. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think polygyny should be legalized and normalized in society? Why or why not? Drop your honest opinion in the comments below. Let's have a respectful but real discussion. If you enjoyed this debate format, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Share it with friends who love controversial topics. I'll be making more debates like this. Tell me in the comments what topic you want next. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Stay curious. Peace.